price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 24th, 2025. Well, it's only Wednesday, but does anyone feel like it's already been a long week here in the market as we've been wandering around, staying relentlessly bullish, whipsawing a little bit as we wait for the big economic data coming up here on Thursday and Friday. Well, how about we settle in and let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, if we take a look at Australian markets, they were down 81.40, 0.92% lower. Hong Kong was up 359.53, or 1.37% higher. South Korea, $14.05 lower, or 0.40%. We had the Nikkei up 136.65, or 0.30% higher. India was down 112.60, or 0.45%, and Shanghai moved up by 31.80, or 0.83% higher overnight. Now, if we take a look at European markets this morning, they're not feeling quite as happy here today. We've got the DAX lower by 22.26, or 0.09%. We've got the FTSE falling 10.01, or 0.11% lower, and the CAC is down 2012, or 0.26%. Lower here this morning. Looking at U.S. futures bouncing around here quite a little bit this morning, but pretty stable here at the moment. We've got the NASDAQ right at this moment down $13. We've got S&P 500 futures up $8.25, and the NASDAQ having the best of it, pushing up 64 points here this morning, trying to continue to make record highs here in the market, trying to claim back some of that little bit of selling yesterday. So keep an eye on these markets. A lot of things moving around and a lot of uncertainty about the data that is yet to come. Let's take a peek at some of the other markets here. If we take a look at bonds here this morning, bond prices are ticking just slightly lower here. And as a result, with those bond prices just a little bit lower, we've got the dollar trying to rally here this morning. First off, our 2-year bonds are coming in at 3.57%. I think it was 3.60 was the high watermark yesterday. The 10-year bonds, 4.11%. I think it was 4.14 was the high water mark yesterday, and the 30-year coming in at 4.72%. Again, I think that was like 4.75 at the high point yesterday. So just a slight tick lower here this morning. But as you can see, the US dollar might have a chance. We might be putting in our first higher low here in some time on the dollar. Let's see if it can deal with all of this price resistance in the chart in this downtrend and break through up here. But keep an eye on that. There's a little bit of hopefulness there in the dollar that we might be catching a little bit of upside opportunity. Right now, dollar futures are up 43 cents, so pretty substantial move so far this morning. Now, as a result, Gold is pulling back slightly here today. Well, slightly in the sense of how much we have rallied here recently. Gold right now down $19.30 an ounce, or $3,796.40 an ounce. Keep an eye on gold and silver. They have just been unbelievable runs on those. Silver this morning is also just a bit lower, pulling back at the moment. Silver futures down about 38 cents at 44.23 an ounce on silver. Copper is also a little bit lower. If we take a look at some of the miners in here on copper, COPX pulling back, as you can see, a little bit today. Right now, copper down just a little over 2 cents here this morning, but still a very bullish trend in that copper miner. Platinum, if we take a look at platinum's pulling back after just a huge move yesterday, down $26.30 an ounce, or 1.75%, and palladium pulling back slightly here this morning after a big pop up yesterday, down $5.30 an ounce at 0.42% lower. Now, if we take a look at cryptos, they've had some rough days here lately. We've trying to rebound here with the dollar moving back up. It's providing some relief here. Bitcoin at the moment is up $1,099 a coin here, or 0.98%. Noticing that we really quickly broke a couple levels of price support in there. We'll need to try and reclaim some of those here in that chart. Unfortunately, if we cannot, well, we've created a little bit of a lower high here in IBIT. Now, if we take a look at Ether, Ether is also trying to bounce a little bit higher. But the good news is held on to this area of price support in the chart. So keep an eye on that. A little bit better place to be bouncing from at this moment, up $11.61, or 0.28%. Solana is not having the same kind of bullishness here this morning, falling another $5.06 a coin, or 2.32% lower here this morning, trying to come back into some support areas here in the chart on the ETF here. So keep an eye on those cryptos. Now, if we take a look at oil this morning, oil is continuing that move higher. If we take a look at USO, we had a really good reversal in here yesterday on oil. So watch that carefully here, breaking back above that downtrend here in the chart. We'll want to watch that closely to see how it deals with this price resistance. But if we can continue that bullishness, maybe we've got something going on here in oil for a little bit of rebound to the upside. Oil at the moment up 70 cents a barrel. That actually just ticked 67 cents a barrel at 64.07 a barrel. Brent is at 68.34 a barrel. And if we take a look at natural gas is still struggling here this morning, down 3 cents on the day. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are and not for what we would like them to be. We want to shake off that bias. Now, first off, when we take a look at the diamonds, one of the things we have to look at in here is clearly that shooting star pattern in there, a little bit of hesitation coming into the market. We got a little bit carried away yesterday. in that rally in the Dow, and then the whipsaw came. And I've been warning of these whipsaws because our breadth is so low, and that really didn't change yesterday. As a matter of fact, it kind of got worse as that separation between the indexes and the breadth of the market continues to grow. Now, if we take a look at this, no technical damage was really done here except for that candle. So it really is going to matter what the follow-through is here today. A bearish candle like that is only going to hold its weight for bearishness as if it follows through to the downside today. So if the bears do have anything to say and we push on through, I'd watch a little bit of support right in there. If we were to break that area lower here this morning and go below that, then I think we might have just a little bit of a concern picking up here in the diamonds. But I think to really show concern in the Dow, we would have to slip below that area here in the chart. And then I think we would have a little bit more fear coming into the market. Now, with this area of support in here, if the bulls can find inspiration in here, then I think there's every reason to believe that they could bounce off of that area in here, push right back up above here, and we're looking at blue sky above, and plenty of opportunity there for the bulls to do that. So we're not out of the woods here at all for some bearishness, but at the same time, a really good opportunity for those bulls to push through to new records. If we take a look at our SPY, trying to bounce up here this morning, kind of a inside day here on that bearish look. The good news is for the bulls is they bounced off of this area right in here. Notice that we had that little tail down there and we bounced right back up. So we held inside a Tuesday's candle here. So although we see a little bit of concern here in the market, it really is not enough to change the dynamics of this chart. So if the bulls can follow through today, well, we'll need to push pretty good. We'll need to push back up through here, break that out to see some new record highs in the SPY. But personally believe that's very possible the way the markets have been moving and the way the big tech giants can force everything in the direction that they want it to go. Now, if we take a look at the bearish side of that, if the bears were to push down below here through that level, I think a little bit of concern might creep up. We're going to give up that trend at the moment there. And then I don't think we get too concerned or worried. Obviously, we could break this level of support in here pretty easily as well, but I don't think we get too majorly concerned until we reverse that tail here at the moment. So that's a pretty substantial move here in the market. I'm not saying it's not possible in one day. I do think it's possible in one day because of the breadth being so low. But that being said, we have been so bullish, particularly in tech area. That would be a surprise move if we did do something like that. So watch that closely. Now, our QQQ is very much the same. Kind of an inside day. There was a little tiny bit of worry there for a while. As you can see, we took out the low of Tuesday's candle, but by the end of the day, we bounced back up. So another inside day here on the QQQ. No major worries there at the moment. Still holding that upside trend with the resilience here in the market. And then we saw Micron after the bell have better than expected earnings. So that helped out a little bit here as well. If those bulls can continue to push, then we've got to get a good solid push up here to break back through that resistance and blue sky above. Certainly doable. If the bears have anything to say, breaking back down below yesterday's low, that starts raising some concern, and then we'll start progressing back down through these areas in the chart to see if we can come back into this area of price support. But once again, I don't think we have any major reversal here. I think at the moment we'd have to take out that low in the chart to really get a reversal down here in the Qs. And then if we look at our IWM, although left behind a shooting star yesterday, there really isn't any major bearishness there. As you can see, it really depends on what the follow through is here on that chart. We may be gathering some evidence that we're a little bit stretched here at the moment. You know, a dark cloud cover candle and then a shooting star type candle. But watch that carefully here. If we hold support in that area, don't break this down from yesterday any lower, then I think there's every reason to believe we could easily pop up in here, have new record highs in the Russell. However, a breakdown in here, if we follow through to the downside, I think we're probably going to have to take out this low to really raise some concerns in IWM. But to get a major reversal going on in here, I think we're going to have to give up at least this area of price support in the chart, and maybe even a little bit further before we see that market raise some major concern here on the Russell. Let's take a look at our VIX. This is interesting in the fact that as we continue to rally in the market, our VIX is rallying up. And this is something I recognized, you know, in other bubbles that we've seen here in the market. We have a little bit of fear coming up here in the VIX as the market continues to stretch to the upside. So watch that carefully in here. We have held these little higher lows in here on the VIX and continuing to move up as the market moves up. Now that can create, again, some volatility, some big whipsaws and things like that here in the chart. If those bears have anything more to say here to the downside and we follow through on some of those shooting stars to the downside, watch this area up here. Breaking above here might raise a little bit of concern in the VIX, really lifting that volatility chance here in the market. However, if the bulls can shake this off and not have that much concern coming in, then watch carefully for this to pull back. Maybe we retest some support here and perhaps even pull all the way back into that next level of support. Let's take a look at our T2122. Now our T2122 early on in the day yesterday, as the Dow surged to the upside, we saw T2122 up here. We really stretched that up there really quickly in the morning, and it gave me an opportunity to take some profits on some trades yesterday. So I had some beautiful profits on trades yesterday, and I just happened to time that pretty well, and we started to pull back here in the in T2122. To finish up the day, we're right here in the mid-range again. So if the bulls find inspiration today, we've got good upside opportunity for them, and we've got a little bit equal opportunity for the bears if the bears were to find inspiration today. So keep an eye on that. A little bit of volatility might be starting to show itself as we head toward these big market moving reports on Thursday and Friday. And then if we take a look at our T2108, T2108 had a good little move to the upside yesterday, pushing back up. So we held in there almost back to 55% in T2108. So those bulls had the day, pushing this back up. If they continue to have that push, let's start looking for that 55 area to break, and we could push right back on up here toward that 60% area in the chart if those bulls can get going. If the bears were to follow through with, like, again, some of those shooting stars, we might actually see a test down here toward the 50% area of the chart. But I think unless we get something major going on in the market, that may hold in there. We've got some good support. But starting to show just maybe that uncertainty that we see in the markets as we go into the dark the blackout period here for companies. They can't do corporate buybacks or anything like that. It's not uncommon for us to end up in a kind of a choppy consolidation as we wait for the next quarter's earnings. So we'll see if we can gain enough momentum here to do much of anything. I think it's going to have to be something that really shakes the market here to get a really big move going to the downside. Now, if we take a look at our T2107 or T2107, also ticked back higher yesterday, looking pretty good. We're short of 55%, but a little bit of bullish push in here. I think it could push us right back into this zone of pretty substantial consolidation here in the chart. Now, breaking through any of that up here, moving up toward that 60%, we start getting in that pretty frothy zone here in T2107. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, there's really good support down in here around 50% of the stocks above there. So as long as we hold in that range, I don't see any major concerns there. My concern happens to be with this and the massive divergence that we're seeing from the indexes right now as our breadth continues to fall. Yesterday we had, as we were pushing back to the upside, we had a little bit of pop in that breadth. We were pumping back up, but then by the end of the day, we sold that right back off. The breadth is incredibly weak here in the market as we continue to pump to new highs. Look at this. It's remarkable how weak we have become in our market breadth. So massive divergence here from our indexes. That's something you want to be paying pretty close attention to because it opens the door for some really big point moves and some big intraday whipsaws are possible when we see something like that. So watch that carefully. Now let's take a look at our index charts here. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. I'll untwist my tongue here in a second. If we've got a look at what's going on today, we're going to get mortgage applications here this morning. They're probably coming out here pretty soon, but we've got a composite was really nice yesterday, or last week I should say, with those rates having fallen. I got to imagine with the rates moving back up after the FOMC rate decrease, this could hurt a little bit today. So watch that carefully on those mortgage apps. We've got new home sales that will be out today. Consensus is looking for 649,000, a little bit of a decline. If we stay in that range, I don't think the market will have too much to holler about. If it changes dramatically, misses dramatically, either up or down, that's where we could get some price movement in the market. We've got a petroleum status number here today. Keep an eye on that. Survey of business uncertainty in here will also be out here today. Not really a market mover. And then we've got a 2-year and a 5-year note auction to pay attention to with a little bit more Fed speak after the bell today. What everyone is going to be thinking about here pretty soon today, we might get a little bit of volatility in the morning, but we're going to be worried about all of this on Thursday morning. We've got durable goods orders, GOP, international trading goods, and jobless claims all before the bell tomorrow. All of those are potential market moving reports, so watch them carefully. We're also going to get corporate profits, retail and wholesale inventories. We've got several Fed speakers. We've got existing home sales that will come out, that is also market moving. We've got Bauman in there speaking. We've got quarterly services survey. We've got a natural gas report and Kansas City Fed manufacturing number with some bond auctions in here to be paying attention to, and more Fed speak. So be kind of thinking about how you're going to protect yourself tomorrow, how you're going to address the market for tomorrow, because a lot of things could start moving around there. And then, of course, on Friday, we have the personal incomes and outlays number, which is going to be the Fed's favorite number. Will it help the Fed lean into rate cuts, or will it help the market see that there may not be another rate cut this year? Watch that closely. Market moving for sure. Then if we take a look at our earnings calendar for today, we have a better round of earnings scheduled here for today. A little bit more activity in here. First off, we've got Cintas. Cintas will be reporting this morning. Keep an eye on that. Cintas, as you can see, that chance that could pick back up in here, or in this kind of a bear flagging pattern, move on lower. We're also going to hear from UEC. This is one that I'm holding. I'm very well hedged on this trade, and it's holding up pretty well after its report this morning. So no major complaints there with UEC. And then THO Thor Industries. That's getting a nice little pop here this morning in its earnings. This afternoon, we have a few more and some notables here. KBH will be reporting today. We've got FB Fuller, will be reporting in here today. We've got Stitch Fix. We've got Steelcase. And we will hear from Worthington Steel. So those are all notable reports for this afternoon. Keep an eye on those. Not probably, major market moving reports, but they are notable here. So keep an eye on those this afternoon. Let's also take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, please do me that favor and click that thumbs up button. Leave that brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you, everyone who does do that. I answered some of those yesterday. Just got too busy and didn't answer them all. Excuse me. I'll hope to be right back on that task first thing here today. So thank you for everyone who takes time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up for today. Remember, everyone, you need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. And remember, whipsaws are possible here. Some big point moves are possible. So make sure you have a plan to protect yourself. If the selling starts, I think it really could build quickly for a quick downside move. Doesn't mean that we break supports or anything like that, but just make sure you have a plan to protect yourself. If we take a look, I placed another price alert here on Unity Software. Unity, really nice little resting consolidation in here, coming out toward that trend. I would watch that carefully. If we can get a little bit of bullish action in here for that push, might move right on through to the upside there. So watch that. With some of the conversation yesterday from the president about Ukraine capable of winning back all of its taken property, you might want to keep an eye on some of these defense sector stocks. Yesterday, General Dynamics hammered in here, trying to push back up. Let's see if it can reclaim that area of support. Keep an eye on that. You might want to take a look at RTX as well. RTX, nice bullish pattern in here, moving through to the upside. That one is also already triggered in there in that trap pattern. Keep an eye on that. That could move right on through to the upside. You might also want to keep a peek, keep your eyes on Lockheed Martin here. Nice little push here to the upside as well. I would say stretch up into this resistance, see if it can pop out of there. It might need a little bit of rest before it gets enough energy to do that, but keep an eye on Lockheed, also showing pretty good moves to the upside. Boeing didn't get involved in that much yesterday. Boeing's still putting in a little bit of a bearish flag pattern in here. So I would watch Boeing here for that possibility. If we find some selling here today in the market, Boeing might just find that way to move itself right on lower here in that chart. If you'll notice in here, we have failed back through our 50-day, and our short-term moving averages has fallen through as well. So this little bear flag may have that opportunity to start pushing its way right to the downside. So there are some short stocks out there if you're looking for some trades in that area, or think the market might roll over. Keep an eye on some of those. Most of these, by the way, are long stocks, but there are some concerns here starting to show up in the market that you might want to be paying attention to. Keep an eye here on Ulta Beauty. Now this has rested here for a long period of time, but all we need is just a little bit of bullish push. And notice these little lows in here are higher lows. All we need is that little bit of a bullish pop, and that might break through that resistance to the upside. Same thing is true here in ELF. ELF Beauty rested back to support here in the chart. Now we did slip this upside trend, so maybe there is a little bit more concern on this one, but watch that carefully in here. If those bulls can get going, I think there's an opportunity that could stretch right on through to the upside. You know, although we're pulling back here today in gold and silver, we need some rest, I think, in some of these miners. But keep an eye on some of these miners. My goodness, they've been so strong. A little rest, a little pullback sets up the next opportunity. GDX, GDXY, GDXJ. If we take a look at Barrick Gold, they're so bullish here. Just give them a chance to rest a little bit, and there may be some more upside coming in those stocks. You might want to take a look at Roblex. It's been in kind of a choppy consolidation in here, but you will want to notice that what we're dealing with is this resistance right here. Had a little bit of selling in there yesterday, but if those bulls find some inspiration in here, I think there's still that chance Roblex might push right on through. So keep an eye on that. We saw some retail hanging in there. Take a look at Kohl's. Kohl's coming up out of this bottom, trying to stay bullish here in the chart. Little resting consolidation in here. I would look for that next opportunity that Kohl's might push on through. I've been keeping an eye here on TJ Maxx for a while in that resting pattern. All we need is that little bit of bullishness to come up, and that might start stretching through to the upside as well. Keep an eye on those in the market. Financials, XLF had kind of a rough day yesterday with a big reversal here on those financials. So watch that closely. If we were to follow through to the downside in here, may start seeing a little bit of pressure coming in on those financials. But I got to tell you, when you look at things like Goldman, that shooting star in there, again, it's going to require that follow through to the downside to really change anything in that chart. Very bullish. You know, BAC had that big shooting star showing up in here. A little bit of a toppy, kind of a fuzzy top up here with all those wicks in there. If that follows through to the downside, and I would say particularly if it breaks below there, I would have a little bit of concern in those charts. Take a look at American Express, AXP. Also had that big stretchy whipsawing candle in there yesterday, but I gotta say, AXP is still looking very bullish. As long as we hold that area support, move out here toward trend, I would look for that next opportunity to the upside in AXP. And then, of course, with the moves that we saw in oil yesterday, you might want to keep an eye on some of those oil stocks. Things like Occidental, pushing and trying to break through the resistance here. APA is one of the better ones right now. Really beautiful potential upside setup in here. Popped and dropped yesterday in there, leaving that shooting star like a lot of things did yesterday. All we need is that little bit of push of bullishness, and I think some of those oil sector stocks can start moving in there through to the upside. So keep a close eye on those. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here and supporting the channel. I really, truly appreciate it. Y'all take care, be safe, and as always, I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.